Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Zainab, and I'm with Global Perinatal Services, and we are celebrating Black Breastfeeding Week, and I'm thrilled to have our amazing lactation consultants here today with us. Not only do they provide expert care and run our lactation hotline, but they also wear many other hats within GPS. They're here to address some of your most frequently asked questions about lactation support. And I'll let each of them do a quick intro of themselves, and we will go around and then jump right into the presentation. Thank you for being here.
I can go first.
Go ahead, Asia.
Yeah. My name is Asia. I am a community-based doula with Global Perinatal Services. I am also a breastfeeding peer counselor for GPS. And I'm happy to be here today among the panel and talk about breastfeeding.
I can go next. My name is Yodit and I go by Judy, and I'm an international board certified lactation consultant. And I have my own private practice, and I also contract with Global Perinatal Services and work with clients visiting in-home and also covering our lactation hotline as well. So I'm so happy to be here for Black Breastfeeding Week.
I am Taylor. I am a doula at GPS. I also certify the doulas and a lactation consultant as well for our lactation hotline. Happy to be here with all of you, and happy Black Breastfeeding Week.
Hi there all. Hola. My name is Jessica Trinidad. I am a Latin woman. I am a lactation consultant and a childbirth educator. And currently I'm working to become an IBCLC. I am working with a mentor. She's not here, but I am also working with Judy, which is amazing. And I hope that we can work more together. I am one of the lactation consultants in Global Perinatal Services, but I am also seeing clients in private and working in a hospital as a childbirth educator, and I'm so happy and excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you guys for those awesome introductions. I think we got everyone right. Just want to make sure. And we'll just go ahead with the presentation. These are general breastfeeding questions. Anyone want to jump in and just kind of tackle any or some of the questions?
Yeah, these are great questions, and I think a lot of us hear all of this all the time. So how do I know if my baby is getting enough milk? What you want to look at is baby's output, for one. So kind of counting how many wet and poopy diapers they're having. Depending on the age of the baby, that will change. And also just the consistency of their stools will also look a little bit different. But in general, what goes in must come out. So if they're having plenty of wet and poopy diapers, then we know they're getting enough. And typically after feedings, they should also seem, somewhat satiated, peaceful, content after feedings. They should want to kind of fall asleep after a good feeding and give you a nice chunk of time. So probably about 90 minutes to 2 hours in between feedings can indicate that they're getting enough. So yeah, those are kind of the cues that I look for. And of course, weight gain. Weight gain is a major one. So when you're doing your routine pediatrician's visits or midwife visits, you should be getting a weight check. And so if they're gaining a steady amount of weight, then we know they're getting plenty.
Thank you, Judy.
I just want to add one thing that was my favorite when I was nursing my my kids, that I would know that they're getting enough when the milk is dripping from the side of their mouth. That was my favorite. When I see that, I feel like they're getting enough and they're happy suckling, that their cheeks are puffing up. So that's one of my favorite signs that baby's getting enough.
I can go and ask the next one. Say, what are the signs that my baby is latching correctly? And I wanted to be very intentional about my words here. And it is like, it shouldn't be painful. That's the main deal. If you are having or expecting pain, I mean, if you are experiencing pain, that's a sign that your baby is not latching correctly. And if that is happening, here in Global Perinatal Services, we are happy to help you to understand how a latch should be look and how it should be feel, which is the most important part. So I have my stuffy breast right here to have a deep latch. We are talking about that the baby is getting more than the nipple. So baby is getting the nipple and a little bit of the areola. And it should be a couple of sucks and then swallows, sucks and then swallow. And when you are unlatching the baby, the nipple is round. So that means that the baby is having a correct latch.
I love the visual there, Jessica.
Thank you, Asia and Jessica.
I can take the next one. How often should I breastfeed my baby? So that just it depends on the baby. No two babies are alike. So every baby is different and their appetite is different. So some babies need to be fed every 2 hours, and some babies every 1 hour, every 3 hour. So it shouldn't be more than 3 hours. But I mean, it's just, again, it just comes down to the baby's need to breastfeed. So as long as everything is going well and mom is comfortable, baby's latching well, just go with the baby's cue. That's what I would give advice. And if you guys can chime in if you have any other to add.
Yeah, I always like to point out I always like to ask, like, how do you know when your baby is hungry? So kind of looking at them to give you the cues. So if they are kind of rooting around looking for a nipple, or if they're putting their hands in their mouth and they're just constantly sucking on their hands, or, you know, as soon as they're waking up from a nap and they're just kind of starting to stretch and they're kind of looking around for you, that's how you know it's time to feed.
Awesome. Thank you,
I
guys.
think, sorry, can I add something to that one?
Yep, please.
I am agree with Judy and Asia, but I feel that it's also important to mention it that depends of the age of the baby. I feel that Asia and Judy were thinking more in a newborn. And when we are thinking in a newborn, every time that the baby wake up means that they are hungry. And that can imply from 8 to 12 times per day. And that's where we go with the numbers that Asia was saying. So it is no longer that every 3 hours. But when the babies get older, like around between 4 and 6 months, they start to be more active, more awake. So that means that the naps are shorter and they are spacing more the feedings. And again, they will let you know when they are hungry by looking for the breath, like Judy was saying. So to clarify a little bit more, that one is depends of the age. And if we say it in numbers, I would say that a newborn between newborn and 4 and 5 months, baby should be eating at least 8 times per day. And after like 5 to 6 months, until a year, baby should be eating around 6 to 7 times per day, depends of the baby. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Common breastfeeding challenges.
I can take the first one up because I feel it is related what I answered before. Like, what can I do if breastfeeding is painful? So again, I wanna say it that breastfeeding shouldn't be painful. You shouldn't feel anything major besides baby sucking, and that should be completely joyful, full of joy. I mean, milk is coming and you are feeling that the letdown is happening. So again, it shouldn't be painful. What can you do if it is painful? If that's the case, reach for help. Reach for help. Call Global Perinatal Services. We have amazing staff with different language that can help you to address the pain that you are feeling, because every single pain is different. So maybe a nipple shield will work for you. Maybe we need to work in stretches for the tongue to have a better suck, or maybe we need to make pumping to satisfy the needs of the baby. So what is going on? It depends on every single one of the cases, and that's something that needs to be analyzed by person. It's not like you can go to Google and immediately say like, oh, this ointment is going to make everything just go away. Thank you.
It's a great point. I could take the next one. How can I increase my milk supply? This is another really great question. I think the biggest thing to know first is to understand how milk supply works. And so milk supply is supply and demand. So the more we're removing milk from the breast, then the more our body is going to make. So in general, as long as you're feeding on demand, kind of following your baby's cues, and feeding at least 8 times a day in the beginning stages, then your body should make the milk that you need. If you do have low milk supply and you just need to give that a boost, then trying to increase how often you're bringing your baby to the breast can help. If that is not an option, or you are able to pump in addition to feeding, then pumping, after feedings or in between feedings, if baby is having a long stretch of time where they're sleeping or you're not getting stimulation, pumping with a really, really good pump and properly sized flanges can help with that. And then another one I think is just making sure that you're resting and getting enough nourishment, enough skin to skin time with your baby as well, just kind of help to boost your oxytocin levels, will also help with your milk supply as well. Anything else that you guys want to add? I think those are kind of the main ones.
I'll just add just eating adequate diet that includes everything, drinking a lot of liquid. I think you said that. So yeah, just taking care of yourself. Also stress can decrease sometimes milk supplies. So if there's any stressors in your life and you can tackle them or deal with them, that'll be also one thing that could help. I could just go to the next one. Take the next question. What should I do if my baby refuses to breastfeed? I get a lot of those questions from my clients saying, "Oh, baby doesn't want to eat. They refuse to feed." And I ask that if you introduce baby formula earlier, that's one way that they will not want to work hard on the breast. Some babies are very smart, but it could be other factors in play. So I would just ask, did you try, to latch the baby properly? Is there a tongue tie issue? Did you check in with maybe baby has a tongue tie, checking with a pediatrician, and just all of the things that, did you try to pump and then put it in the bottle if that helps sometimes, just pumping the breast milk and putting it in the bottle if that's easy for baby. But this is a broad a lot of it could be different issues that is causing baby to refuse breastfeeding, so we'll just go by case by case. And yeah, you guys can add on to that.
Yeah, I think I'll add, if your baby is refusing to breastfeed, we definitely want to still protect your milk supply. So you should, I would recommend pumping right away just to help remove that milk, just like we were talking about, ensuring good milk supply, and then reaching out for help. So while you're waiting for that help, making sure you're at least protecting your supply and feeding the baby via a bottle or some other method for sure.
I can take the next one. How can I handle engorgements or blocked ducts? This one is an amazing question because have different angles to see. So the first one is like, what happened? That would be my first question. Like, what changed? What brings you to have the engorgements and the blocked ducts? It's something that it is related to accumulating fluids from delivery. I mean, it's IV related, or something that happened after that you were already feeding the baby? So that would be the first question. And answer that question will bring to different points. But I will say that, like, from the general point of view, I will apply ice, because ice remove inflammation, and I will offer my baby to latch and breastfeeding or chest feeding, and I will try to go by that. If that doesn't work, I mean, if ice doesn't work and latching the baby doesn't work because maybe the breasts are too engorged, I would go by Judy was saying, like protecting the supply and maybe using the pump or hand express. No, everything is around the pump. No, every person needs a pump. If you are seeing this right now, you don't need to go and buy it. You can always hand express. We can help you in Global Prenatal Services by a call to understand how to hand express, or you can go to YouTube and see a video. But it is important that you relieve the pressure. So ice for inflammation, offering the breast to relieve the pressure, or hand expressing or pumping.
Jessica, can I ask about cabbage? People say place cabbage on the breast. Is that, like, what is that also?
That's also something that some people use it. I feel that it is more related for oversupply. At least that's my point of view. Maybe Judy can help me with this one, because that's more used for oversupplies, because cabbage relieves the pressure by being in the freeze. So it is cold and remove inflammation, but also it is related to decrease a little bit the supply. At least that's what I understand. Yuri, what ideas do you have? So cabbage, I will use it for oversupply, not for engorgement or blocked ducts.
Yeah, I've used it, or I've recommended it for both. I think it depends on if the person does have an oversupply, just kind of making sure that they are down to a normal supply can help reduce that engorgement. And just having that cold feeling on the breast can really just help. It just feels good for the parent. And it's usually just a temporary, it's a temporary thing. We wouldn't do it for more than about a day or something like that, or maybe even just a couple of times a day. So yeah, you can use a cabbage if that works for you. And then it's also important to know that engorgement can be normal. So most people do experience engorgement when their milk is coming in. So, around day 3 or so. So that feeling of rock hardness is usually a good sign that there's a lot of fluid accumulating because your milk supply is increasing. So just kind of taking time, and just like Jessica said, when you're feeding on demand, that does help to lessen it. And then that ice just kind of helps reduce a lot of the inflammation.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Judy.
Yeah.
I just would like to add, in some cases, the engorgement or the black duct, if you try everything and it's still engorged and it's red and hot, painful to touch, and you can see that it's really inflamed, it's time to see a doctor. I've seen some cases that doctors prescribed some antibiotics because it got infected, to kind of release, remove that infection. So in the case that is it's better to check in with your OBGYN midwife and get a further assessment.
Absolutely. I love that point. Thank you, Asia. Definitely there are times when it could be something other than engorgement or black ducts. So definitely always keeping an eye out and talking to your providers. Thank you, guys. Is there any more? I will move on to the next one. Eating and nutrition concerns.
I can take this. What should I eat or avoid while breastfeeding? So a balanced diet, of course, is important. Foods like sweet potato and nuts and carrots and oatmeal are like great foods to help with supply. I'd say foods to avoid, probably like anything that's like undercooked fish or things like that. Tuna sometimes. But other than that, yeah, just a balanced diet. Definitely like lots of leafy greens and, vegetables and fruits are really important. Grains, legumes and stuff like that.
Yeah, I always tell my clients to eat what you normally eat, what you love. And it's normal for them to, for you to feel super hungry when you are breastfeeding. So just eating when you're hungry or grabbing a snack, or a meal when you're sitting down to breastfeed or pump. And yeah, just ensuring that you're getting enough calories. And then like Jessica mentioned, because engorgement typically happens for most people, in the early postpartum days. So your body's just under a lot of inflammation. So just thinking of foods that just make you feel good and kind of reduce the inflammation. So if things like garlic or ginger or turmeric, things that just kind of help reduce inflammation is already part of your diet, or if you can add, things like that to the things you're already eating or drinking, that can also just really help in the healing process in general, just help you feel better and give you a little energy boost, especially when you're sleep deprived.
I would like to add to that question too, because I feel that that question have also a perspective of a culture. In my culture, like Latin America, always people say like, don't eat beans, don't eat spicy, don't eat soda, don't quit the coffee. Plenty of stuff. And then you as a new mom or as a new nursing parent, and then just eating soups. And that's not what we want. So it is important that we eat every single one of the categories of the food, but avoid things that can make you sick. Like Taylor was saying, no raw food, undercooked food, and calories enough, like Judy was saying, but also pay attention of what make you feel good. If you are a person who likes spicy and spicy goes with your body, I mean, you don't feel reflux, you don't feel inflammation on your body, anything like that, I would say continue with that. But if you are a person who don't feel good eating spicy or drinking coffee or taking something like too hot or whatever, listen to your body, because probably if you are not feeling okay, baby is not feeling okay also. So take that in mind. And I would say that the also something to avoid while you are breastfeeding is alcohol and marijuana, because that is not something that go with either pregnancy or breastfeeding. But if you want to review something specifically that you see, and you, I mean, let's say like you eat something, let's say that you eat spicy Mexican food, and then you see that your baby was complaining about the diaper, you can always call and review what is the color of the diaper, is the baby feeling reflux or anything, and we can talk about it. So yeah, I would say that that's also something very cultural, but be mindful of what are you eating and what are you eating that.
Mm-hmm. And I'll add too that there is no superfood, so there isn't something that you have to eat in order for breastfeeding for to go well or for your milk supply to come in. It just does, as long as you're ensuring you have a good balance and enough calories and your body is feeling good. There's no magic food. So if you hate oatmeal, stop eating oatmeal. All the things that you see online that are supposed to boost your supply, if you hate it, don't do it. So
There are
Yeah,
also, oh, sorry,
sorry.
yeah, go
Yeah, I
ahead.
just wanted to add, like in my culture, when the baby's born, we're encouraged to eat a lot of um like meats and carbohydrate and all that stuff to um get good milk supply, and also to recover from the birth. So that is one thing. But in some occasions, there's food scarce that is happening in some families. Not everybody has access to healthy food and even food in general. So whatever you have, you know, or you can afford, as long as it's not something that will harm the baby or can go through your system and get to the baby, it's fine. That you can find anything.
Absolutely. A very good perspective. Thank you, Az. I was just gonna say, Judy, there are actually some lactation consultants that recommend like certain cookies or like supplements to boost your supply. So that doesn't, then when I was nursing, I was like, oh my God, I need to, so that doesn't affect the, what do you call the amount that you produce?
It can. So if you truly have a low milk supply, it really, again, it depends on your body, right? So you still have to, ensure that you're feeding on demand or pumping every, 8 times a day, or whatever the case may be. So if you're pumping or you're stimulating your breast at least 8 times per day, right? So it's not like you could decrease how often you're feeding or how often you're pumping and take these magic foods that will increase your supply. So I do think for most people, it's the work that they're doing in terms of feeding or pumping that's helping to boost their supply. And then the supplements and, the cookies, they're just, they do give you a little boost, but
Yeah.
I think of them as just a bonus, but not the only thing that is helping your supply.
Makes sense. Yeah, thank you. And
Yeah.
just wanted to go back to Jessica's point also. Jessica, what about people who say like you can eat like different foods, like spicy foods, because the baby will be introduced to different like foods through your milk? Is that like, how accurate is that as well?
Well, yes, that's true. I mean, baby is going to taste everything through your milk. So whatever that you are eating, the baby is going to taste it. That's why it's important that you be mindful of what are you eating, because that's your family diet.
Yes.
And in my family, I am a Latin, so I eat spicy. But and I eat it when I was pregnant, I eat it when I was breastfeeding, and I continue eating it. But I was very mindful of see if my baby was capable to tolerate it. I mean, if it was too spicy for my body, I mean, if I was feeling inflamed or I was feeling acid, it was like that was too much for me, and probably was too much for my baby too. So I was trying to be conscious of how I'm seeing my baby reacting of the food that I'm eating.
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff. If I happen to see that my baby didn't get very well with a birria, which is a typical meal, Mexican typical meal, and I see that he was on colic or feeling not completely well after that I eat that and breastfeed him, I will just avoid birria for what I'm breastfeeding. You know what I mean? Maybe try it a couple of months later to see how it reacts. So that's what I will say. So continue eating your normal diet. Just be mindful that you are open to eat whatever you want, but besides, avoid what we already say: alcohol, marijuana, and something that can hurt the baby. Yeah.
Thank you.
I could take the next one. Can I breastfeed if I'm sick or on medication? Yes, for sure. You can breastfeed if you are sick. It's actually really good to breastfeed when you are sick, if you are able to, of course, physically able to breastfeed, because whatever sickness you are going through, your body is going to create antibodies so that your baby doesn't get sick. So it's really, really rare that you have to stop breastfeeding because of an illness. So whether it's a cold, I mean, now, COVID is also on the rise. You can definitely breastfeed. You just want to take extra precautions and just make sure you're washing your hands really thoroughly, masking up if needed, that sort of thing. And if you don't feel well enough to actually bring the baby to the breast or chest, then you can still pump and provide your milk that way. And then if you're on medication, it really depends on the medication. There's very few medications where you have to stop breastfeeding. So, those are very specific medications. So majority of medications, especially if it's over the counter, is probably going to be okay. But I will say it's best to check with your doctor or your pharmacist to ensure that it is compatible, and work with, an LC as well to see if it is compatible. But most medications are going to be compatible with breastfeeding.
I can take the next one.
When should I start introducing bottles or solid foods? So bottles, I would establish a good relationship with baby, a good rhythm, like breastfeeding before introducing a bottle. So I wouldn't introduce a bottle until the baby's a month old. If baby was born in the NICU or needed some like extra assistance after birth, then of course bottle feeding is fine. I would just pump. I would pump just like you would feed baby, so that your body knows to continue to make that milk every 2 to 3 hours. And as far as solid foods, not until baby's about 6 months old, and then just starting one food at a time to make sure baby's not allergic or doesn't like it, or and so you can kind of add on after that. But I would start, with a sweet potato or something like an avocado or smushed banana, but not until 6 months. And then breastfeeding is going to shift a little bit. because you won't breastfeed as often because now you are having these solid foods, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't still feed baby on demand. You can even use your breast milk to put it in baby's oatmeal and foods that baby makes. You can add it into the baby's food as well.
And I can add to that, there's some signs that you'll know when your baby is ready. So if your baby is sitting up with without assistance, if they're able to kind of hold their head up and they've lost that tongue thrusting motion, so where they're kind of pushing the food out, if that's not there anymore, then you kind of know. Or if they're sitting at the table with you and they're starting to be really curious about what you're eating and trying to put it in their mouth, that's also another sign that they're ready. And I always like to tell my clients that, you know, the food is, you know, may or may not make it into their mouth at when you're first starting solid foods, when they're, you know, 6-7 months or so. It's really just to get them used to different tastes, different flavors, and just kind of have it be more of like a developmental thing where they can kind of touch and feel what it looks like. So breast milk is still going to be, you know, their primary source of nutrition up until they're, you know, 9-10 months old, and then they'll start to eat a little bit more and more.
I will take the next question. How do I store food? I mean, how do I store and safely use expressed breast milk? So you can store breast milk either in the fridge or in the freezer. In the freezer, it will last you long, I believe, up to a year. And then in the fridge, you can 24 hours or depending on what type of fridge you have. Again, we all don't have the same fridge. And then the temperature of the fridge also, if you're able to determine and control the temperature on the fridge, you can also store it in the fridge. In between, or if you're making large quantity of milk in between feedings while baby's sleeping, if you're engorged and then you pump, you can do both freezer and fridge. And I'll just have you guys add any other tips that you may have.
Yeah, thank you, Asia. I agree with you. I think the only thing that I would like to add is like avoid the door. Like whatever fridge that you have, whatever fridge that you have, just avoid the door because the door is the one that changed a lot of the temperature. So if you are going to store the milk in the fridge and not in the freezer, I will put it on the back, far away from the rough stuff. So I mean, like, for example, if you are going to put it next to the cow milk, that would be great, but not next to raw meat. So I would say that that will be the best in the back and avoid the door because that changed a lot of the temperature. And of course, a storage in either a plastic bag or in a bottle. And remember that every time that you pull it out, it should be the quantity that your baby is going to eat. Because if the milk touched the saliva of the baby and didn't finish the whole bottle, you need to throw away that milk because it starts a process of breaking the milk. Saliva has an enzyme called amylase. Well, amylase is in Spanish. I don't know English. Amylase. So in that break the milk, and that started a process or descomposition. So if baby touched the milk, let's say that you given him a bottle of 3 ounces and he only drink 2, that ounce that is still remaining there, you have like 1 hour more to offer the baby, and then you need to just throw it away. So every time that you are going to bottle feed a baby, you need to be sure that he or she is going to drink the whole amount. Judy, you want to add something to that?
Yeah, I think an easy way to remember it, I always tell my clients is think of 4, 4, 6, and you'll see varying recommendations. So freshly expressed milk is good for 4 hours in the fridge. I'm sorry, 4 hours at room temperature, 4 days in the fridge, and then 6 to 12 months in the freezer. So 4, 4, 6 is what I tell my clients to memorize. And then, yeah, I agree with everything you and Asia said.
Thank you guys. I've learned so much. I wish I had this session before I had my babies, so I would know everything there is to know about breastfeeding. On to the next one.
Well, now everybody's going to have the opportunity because in Global Perinatal Services, the only thing that they need to do is call. Can I say the number aloud?
Please, yeah.
1-888-2601-426. En español, 1-888-260-1426. If you want to talk with any one of us and review questions like this one or more, you just need to call or text. And we can have a discussion by phone, by text, or by video call.
Awesome. Yes, absolutamente. Gracias, Jessica. Thank you.
I love all the promo. I can take the first question. Can I still breastfeed if my baby has a tongue tie or a lip tie? It will depend. It'll depend on how severe it is. For most cases, you definitely do want to do something about it. So whether that is tongue exercises or potentially body work, or in some cases, a procedure to help release the tongue or lip tie, just to help make breastfeeding more effective, then you will want to do something. Some babies might have a tongue tie, but they may actually be able to transfer from the milk from the breast or bottle really well. And if they are able to maintain the supply, so if you're not having to pump in addition to feeding at the breast, then it may just be a situation where you kind of monitor it and just see how it's doing. But I would always suggest having follow-ups, regular follow-ups with an IBCLC or with a pediatrician who really is skilled in tongue or lip tie to see how it might impact baby. But yeah, most babies with tongue or lip tie, they tend to cause pain or tend to not transfer the breast well. And so if those, aren't happening, then we may not really need to do anything about it. Do you guys want to add anything? I feel like that's a controversial one, so.
I think it also depends of the pain that it is making the baby, because one of the reasons of we can realize that tongue tie is happening is because moms or nursing parents are having pain on the nipples. So you need to take care of yourself too. And if it is the case that you are experiencing extremely pain, you always need to reach for help and make a plan that works for you. You can either express milk and give it on the bottle, or try to latch, and you can use like a nipple chill or something else. But again, also depends of every single situation. Yeah, I agree with you, Judy.
I will take the next question. Is it safe to breastfeed during pregnancy or tandem nurse? It is in most cases safe to breastfeed during pregnancy. And then it just depends individually. Sometimes moms will come and say, "Oh, my baby refused to breastfeed." And in our culture, we usually say that the breast milk will change because the taste of the breast milk will change when you get pregnant. So that is one thing that usually in the Somali culture would say, okay, breast milk tastes change. That's why baby is not, taking the breast milk anymore. Or sometimes would say like, okay, yeah, this is baby's time is finished. So this is for the baby that is, I'm carrying. So no more. Some moms, even the baby once they will stop feeding them. Also, there's um, other things in play, like, oh, okay, I'm gonna have a miscarriage if I continue breastfeeding, but it's safe to breastfeed while you're pregnant. And yeah, the other consultant can add to that too.
Yeah, I could just add I agree with you, Asia, for sure. Unless there's like a high risk pregnancy or something like that, definitely it's okay to breastfeed while pregnant. And also with tandem nursing, just offering the newborn baby the breast first to make sure like the newborn baby gets the initial milk, and then breastfeed the older baby that's probably already on solids and things like that. And then you can always breastfeed both babies if you have twins on either breast at the same time. So yes, it's definitely okay to do both of those things.
The only thing that I would like to add to that one, it is like, if you are going to have twins babies, it is always a good idea to swap the babies, because sometimes babies, like baby A is going to always get the right and baby B is going to always get the left. So a good idea to make movement of the hand and avoid preference will be swap the babies. So A right and then A left. So like I will be doing that when I'm the nurse.
I would just like to add, if unless your provider advises that you can't breastfeed for some reason, if you're taking some medications that um, will be transmitted to the baby for some reason, some occasions it could happen if there's complication with pregnancy or something like that. So it's always to check in with your provider too.
Agreed. I can take the next one. How can I ensure proper breastfeeding while dealing with postpartum depression or anxiety? This one is very heavy one and have different answers, because it's having postpartum depression or anxiety. It is a huge topic that could take hours for us to understand. I just want to say that if you feel that you are not being yourself and for more than 2 weeks, I mean, if you are crying all the time and you are like, this is not myself, I don't feel quite happy or bonding with my baby, or if you are having thoughts or hurting yourself or your baby, that for sure are the pressure. And you need to reach for help. The first person that you need to reach for help, it is your primary care or your medical provider, and telling them that something is going on. But you need to be honest, and you need to tell them what is happening. And it's going to be an amount of time when they review some of the stuff that is happening, and they're going to probably provide you a medication that is going to be probably a match with the breastfeeding. Most of the medications that I know that the clients are taking right now are compatible with breastfeeding, chest feeding, and pumping. So don't put more guilt on yourself. You just need to reach for help. And I would like to say, if it is possible, would you sign up the number of Perinatal Support Washington, which is a free line of support. Can I share the number with them? Okay, the number with Perinatal Support Washington is a free line that you can call and ask for help. It is 1-888-404-7763. Again, 1-888-404-7763. That's completely free, and that's one of the places that you can start and just be completely honest. But yeah, to ensure that you are having wellness being for yourself, the first thing it will be honest with you.
Yeah, so true. I just would like to add postpartum depression and also anxiety. In some cases, it's very real. And don't feel bad if you're feeling depressed and all this and you're dealing with your health. If it's okay for baby to take bottle, don't feel bad. Like that will just add more to your anxiety. Like, okay, I cannot breastfeed. You feel more guilt as that you're not able to do that at this moment. So just taking care of yourself and focus on yourself first, and then just when everything you get the help you need, you can start breastfeeding anytime, start over. Before that, it's very important that you take care of yourself and focus on yourself first. And it's okay if baby takes a bottle during that period. And I just would like to add another number. If there's like severe suicidal thought or severe depression, you can call 988 always. There's counselors ready to talk to you. And that is also another number I would like to mention. It's 988. They have interpreters. If you speak different language, they're very prompt on answering the phone. You don't have to wait for a long time on the line. So
Yes, thank you so much for all those resources, guys. And when we post our video, I will be sure to add those numbers to the video as well. Thank you. If there are no more inputs, I believe we are going to be on to our last question. Balancing work and breastfeeding.
I'm returning to work. How do I maintain my supply? So I would just pump at your normal feedings if you're able to. Bring like either a handheld pump or even electric pump. I usually always recommend the handheld to clients only because it's like more discreet, and a lot of times they don't want it to be such a big deal that they're pumping. And hopefully their work has a safe space for them to do that. But to maintain supply, I would just make sure that you're pumping like you would do your regular feedings, and then store it, in the freezer, or bring like a cooler bag and have freezer packs in it, and it should stay good for 24 hours. And that if there's freezer bags around it, or ice, if they don't have a freezer available at your office to store it. And then when you get home to baby, try to offer baby breasts right away. Store that milk in the freezer for the following day, and try to just pump as much as you're able to store for the family or whoever is watching baby at home. But yeah, just making sure that your body knows to continue to make that milk every few hours.
And I'll add to that. I think it's helpful to just communicate with your supervisor that you plan to pump and continue to breastfeed once you return to work. So just reaching out to them as soon as you are able to give them a heads up, so they can also, if it's a small business, they can prepare a space for you, and you also aren't trying to figure out where you're going to pump, where you're going to store your milk, the day of. So just being prepared, if you know in advance. Typically, most people know in advance when their first return date is. So maybe a month, or even, a couple weeks beforehand, just doing kind of a dry run, or going to look at the space and starting to store that milk that Taylor was saying that you're going to leave behind for the caregivers. Just kind of planning ahead kind of helps take that anxiety away, because it's a very, anxiety increasing thing to be separated from your baby. And so just, I think planning is really, really key when you're returning to work. Planning in advance.
And I would like to add to that one, and I agree with Taylor and Judy, that planning is a key, but also I wanted to say it aloud for you that you are listening this. You don't need to have a freezer with thousands of ounces ready for the baby. You just need you just need the milk for one day. The hours that you are going to be outside, let's say that you work 8 hours and you are commuting 1 hour before and 1 hour after. So that's going to be 10 hours. And your baby is eating every 3 hours. So how many bottles do you need? So probably it's going to be 3. And if your baby is taking 3 ounces, so you need 3, 6, 9 ounces, not 300. So don't put that anxiety on yourself. It's just one day. It is the milk of one day. So I just want to say that aloud, because I see that social media is full of freezers with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of packs of ounces of milk, and that put a lot of pressure on us, and you are start feeling panicked because you see that someone else is better prepared than you, and that's not the case. That's extremely okay.
I can take the next one. How do I wean my baby off breastfeeding when the time comes? Again, every baby is different. Some, they will let you know when they hit 2 or 1, they're not all interested about in breast milk anymore, or they'll try to, because they start eating, right? And every baby is different. So some will go above beyond 2 months. Those are 2 years. Those are the ones that don't want to come off the breast. They love it so much. So one thing I would recommend is putting them or letting them, if you were co-sleeping, maybe letting them sleep in their room. At that time, to my experience, at night was the most hardest time for me breastfeeding when they get older. And so just separate them, like if you can afford to put them in their room, or just in their crib in your room if you don't have that much space. And One other thing is, again, everybody is different cultures. In our culture, we usually put the nipple like something bitter on your nipples so that the baby will not want to breastfeed. That's extreme, but but it doesn't work. So babies are smart. Okay. Once I go on it and suckle a couple of suckles, that bitterness is gone. So they know that this is not working. So it doesn't work for anybody, but um most babies will let you know, or they would not want to breastfeed anymore. And it comes down to individual, um, baby and mom and how you want to do that. But slowly weaning them off slowly, not like at once. That works just gradually. If you were doing a couple of feedings at night, maybe cut it down to once, and then so on and so forth. Then slowly just wean them.
Mhm. I think there's a term that's when you're weaning, it's don't offer but don't refuse, and that's how you would gently wean. So like you said, you don't want to just do cold turkey. So if they're old enough to ask, then try to distract them. Especially if they're a 2-year-old, they're easily distracted. So go play with them, take them for a walk, do some other activity. But of course, if they're insisting, just kind of you can go ahead and give it to them, and then gradually they'll come off of it. I could take the next question. What is the best position for breastfeeding, especially at night? So in general, for positioning, I don't have a preference. When people ask me, is this the right position? Is this the right position? As long as you are comfortable and you have a deep latch, you're not in pain, baby is comfortable, you can breastfeed in any position that works for you. So I see, especially with the new parents, they're like kind of hunched over and really stressed out, and they don't want to move because baby's like just latched right. But if you cannot maintain that position forever, then that's probably not the best position for you. So I just like to think of where is a place in your house where you can kind of lean back, and almost like you're about to watch a movie, for like an hour and a half. Like if you could stay in that position for that long, then that's probably a really good position, and you're able to get a deep latch. And then at night, this also applies at night. Of course, if you feel comfortable co-sleeping, so having your baby in your bed with you, that way they are able to latch and kind of feed on demand at night. And then that way there isn't as many disruptions to you. They can kind of just roll over and latch onto the breast. Of course, you want to make sure you're doing this safely, so ensuring that there aren't any bed covers near them, anything that might cover their face. No stuffies or anything like that, ensuring that you have a nice hard surface, like a hard mattress, and making sure if your partner's sleeping in the bed with you, just kind of alerting them so that they know that the baby is in the bed, and just having some barriers to ensure that they don't roll on them, or the baby doesn't roll off on the side. So there's safe ways to co-sleep. So if you're someone that's comfortable with that, I always encourage it. I remember that's how I got any sleep, especially with my first one, because he just loved to nurse all night. So yeah, as long as you're comfortable, have a deep latch, and you feel safe doing it, then any position is fine.
Who's the brave soul that will attempt the last question?
What support options are available if I'm struggling with breastfeeding? Well, that's where we come in. If you need us, we are here for you, and you can utilize our lactation hotline. We have hybrid, both virtual and in-person lactation sessions, so moms can log in on a Zoom before or after pregnancy. And they can also come to our office Tuesdays and Thursdays if they're needing some in-person support. We do home visiting. All of us do, and we're here to support you. So definitely reach out to us. Our number is 1-888-260-1426.
Thank you, Taylor. And with that, oh my goodness, thank you so much, guys, for all your amazing answers. I learned so much today, and I hope that our viewers did as well, and for sharing your wisdom and experiences and knowledge, and just relating it to like outside real life, and not just what we read on paper or see on social media, but really bring it home in that sense. And you can see it, that's our number. You can call or text. We have people speak multiple languages, and for now we are available 7 days a week, and it's absolutely free. So yeah, thank you everyone for this amazing session today.
Thank you, Zainab. This was great.
Absolutely.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you all.
Bye, everyone.